Alright, so welcome in this webinar, guys. So thank you for being here with me. I know that many of you guys are probably very busy as well. You have other things going on, so I appreciate that you take the time to actually be here with me tonight on this webinar. So as always, I will try to bring you guys as much value as possible. That is the whole purpose of doing that type of webinars, just to, give back to people and help you guys as much as I can. So this webinar will be mainly about three things. So trading, investing, and I will also be answering all of you guys' questions. So we'll do a Q&A basically throughout the webinar. So the last webinar I did was in March, I think, and it was, it was more a prepared webinar with a prepared presentation. So I talked about me, Reversal Master, my trading course, etc., etc. So if you haven't seen this webinar, you should also go check it out after this one. But this one is basically, more a free will webinar, like we can say. So the sound and the video quality should be a lot better as well than the last one, because I've had a lot of complaints about the sound, and I do agree with the people. The sound on the last webinar was like horrible. So this time it should be a lot better because I changed some settings on my software. So let's start, you guys. Now, for those who are watching this live with me, you can ask all the questions that you have. I don't mind. I will answer every single questions that you guys have, whether it's about me, trading, my course, life in general, whatever that you guys want to talk about. Ask your questions. If you have 10 questions, if you have 20 questions, I don't mind. Ask everything. This purpose, like I said, of doing this webinar is that I give you guys as much as possible. So that is why I want you guys to ask questions. And don't be shy of asking question, right? Because keep in mind that the only dumb question is the one you don't ask, right? So don't be shy of asking questions, because if you're here, if you're watching this right now, it's because you want to learn something, right? You want to get better at trading, investing, or just have answers to your questions. So you should definitely ask as many questions as possible. And I always say that to my students as well, because that's how you learn, right? Always ask questions. That is what I do personally, even with my own mentors. So I highly suggest you guys do so as well. So if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat. I also have, many notes on here, many questions as well that I've received before the webinar that I will cover. I also want to talk about different topics. So I'll just mix, everything together, and we'll just have a nice discussion as well. So feel free to drop whatever you want to talk about in the chat. And yeah, I'll just start with as well, some things that people asked me before starting the webinar. So I've had a great question from one of you guys that I want to answer right now, and then I'll look at the chat and see the questions that you guys have. But basically, someone asked me, what is the most important thing to master as a trader, right? And there could be many answers, because in reality there's it's not just about one thing that you need to master. There are many different things. But if I had to give one thing, one answer, or at least I will give two answers, because in reality, like I said, there's so many things, and I don't think that just giving one answer is actually the right answer, right? If that makes sense. So I want to start with this. What is the most important thing to master as a trader? So the first thing I'd say is patience. And many people don't understand fully what it means when I say that you need to be very patient. So it's patience with, number one, yourself, and number two, the market. So let's start with yourself. Why you need to be patient with yourself? Well, it's very simple, because trading takes a long time to learn, and I cannot blame you if you think that you will be a profitable trader in a few months, because there are so many marketers online and people who will tell you that you can become profitable in a few months. And the reason why they tell you this is because there's a lot of money to being made when they say that, right? But I'm here to tell you the truth, which is it probably will take more than a few months for you to become profitable. The faster I've seen with my own students is probably, let's say 8 or 9 months. And some people think that it's a lot, but it's very not a lot, actually, because when you actually know what it really takes to become a profitable trader, you know that you need to be extremely patient. And you also know that it takes a long time. So when you already start with these beliefs, then you already are on the right track because you know what to expect from trading, which is not being a millionaire in few months, right? Like we see that on Instagram all the time, you know, people who drive Ferraris and, you know, have Rolexes and all these things. But in reality, when you actually understand what it really takes, you also realize that it takes way more than just, you know, few months of practice and there you go, you're like this profitable, you know, trader. So that's the first thing, being patient with your own self because it takes a long time to learn. And the sad truth is that people will give up before they actually become profitable. And that comes from, like I said, having the wrong beliefs. Because if, for example, you start trading and you think that you will become a millionaire in, like, I don't know, like a 1 month or 3 months, 5 months, whatever. If you have these beliefs, so you start trading, and then after that 3 months, well, you will realize that you're not even close to be profitable. So what happens? Well, you will start to feel bad about yourself. You will think that it's your own fault, but you don't realize that it's someone else's fault that put these beliefs in yourself. So that is why I say that you need to be extremely patient with yourself because it takes a extremely long time to learn this skill and you must not give up during this process. That is what sadly a lot of people end up doing, just giving up because they think that they will never get it or they think that it's not for them or whatever. It may be true as well, but the point is that many people give up too soon on trading because they have these false beliefs that they can be profitable extremely fast. So you must keep that in mind when it comes to trading and investing as well. By the way, it works for, you know, trading, investing, whatever, both of them. So being patient with yourself. Number two, being patient with the market. And that is a big one because so many people, when they get into a trade and, for example, the trade either start going well for them or bad for them, what these people will do is that they will start trading with their emotions. They are not patient enough to react to what the market is actually showing and not trying to just trade with their own emotions and beliefs. And that is a big mistake that you can get yourself into as well, and that can be very dangerous for your own trading account, is that you think that the market is going one way, and if it's not like already going that way immediately, well, you start to have, once again, false beliefs. And so that will cause you to not have good trading results. So that is why it's important to be patient, not only with your own self, but also with the market. And that, just mastering these two things, will already put you as a better trader than most people, because most people are not patient enough. And for example, if we just look at the trades I'm in, if you guys, you know, saw what I posted this week and last week as well, well, you know that I'm in this trade right now on New Zealand dollar and I'm in really deep profits right now. Same thing for euro, right? I have these two trades going on, and most people, when they will see the profits that I'm in right now and how much money there is in the game, well, they will leave the trade. They will close the trade because they think that the market, you know, they trade with their emotions, and their emotions will tell them to close the trade because they want to, you know, secure the profit, right? That's what people will justify doing it. But the reality is that when you do this, you trade with your emotions. And so that is why being patient with your own self and with the market will actually help you a lot get better when it comes to trading. So I don't see many questions in the chat, guys. Come on, like, stop being shy. You need to ask questions. Like I said, it's the whole point of this webinar. If you're here, it's because you have questions. You want to learn more, so you need to ask them, right? And like I said, I have a few other things I want to cover, but I don't have, you know, that many things. So you guys need to ask questions. This is a webinar to help you guys. So to receive my help, well, ask me questions. And like I said, it can be about trading, investing, me, my course, whatever you want to talk about. Just ask them, and I'll cover all of them. So to just close it up with the topic I was talking about, being patient with your own self, understanding that it takes a long time to learn this skill, understanding that you may want to give up before you actually get there, and that is because you have the wrong beliefs. So you need to make that shift in your mind, that shift in your paradigm, and see it as it actually is instead of seeing it as you think or as you want it to be, right? And being patient with the market, meaning when you get in a trade, you don't get in your emotions just because of if it's actually going up or down, or how much money you're losing or how much money you're making or whatever. You just stick to your own rules and you follow your trading plan. That is the most important thing. So yeah, that will sum it up the question. uh what do you usually wait before placing a trade? That is a really good question. So what I wait for placing a trade is a confirmation of my setup. So I cannot go, too much into details on this because number one, normally, it's for reversal master students only. And second of all, well, you will need to know at 100% how I trade to actually, fully understand and answer this question. But basically, I'll still give you, a good answer, I think, that may help you. So we'll take the example of, well, we can take the euro example first of all. And you'll see why as well a little bit I took this trade. Okay. So euro, right? So what happened on euro? So you have this down move here, you're making this correction here, and you broke down. So at this point, the question that was there was, is this the actual breakout and are we going total downside? Or is this still part of the correction and are we going to get more upside before we actually see the downside? That was the big question to answer. So that question cannot be answered unless you actually find a setup on the lower time frame. So that is the process of basically, taking trades, and not only according to how I trade, but I'm pretty sure that, many traders will do things that in that order. So you basically find a situation, we can say, or a pattern that is incomplete, and then you will go on the lower time frame to actually wait for a trading setup there. And so that's basically what I did. When I knew that this had the possibility of actually going back up pretty strong, then I went on the 1 hour. This is where I always take my trades. And so basically when we got this impulse, this correction, and we broke out of here, this is where I took the trade. And so from there I'm in the trade, and that is why also I keep the trade, because I think that we have more upside to come. And even though I'm in the profits on that trade right now, I'm not removing the trade, or at least not right now, because at this moment I don't have any information that tells me whether it's going more up or down. I need to wait for either a correction or a reversal pattern, and that is why right now I am still in the trade, because I am waiting for one of these two. So I hope that answers the question. And just to sum it up and make it very clear, you need to find a pattern. The better is a complete pattern, because after you can follow it and wait for the complete pattern basically to trade. And then when you find that, you will go on the lower time frame and wait for a trading setup there. And so when you go on the lower time frame and you have that trading setup, well, that will be a let's say highly confirmation that the pattern you're looking at on the bigger picture is actually over, and then you can get in the trade. And that is how you can also have a good risk to reward ratio, because you see here that I basically got in the trade right here, my stop was there, and my target is right there. It can also stop around here, but this is like my first target. I know that it can stop here. So if I see reversal around this level, or even this one, it's not impossible that it actually stop right here as well. But if I see basically a reversal there, then I will wait for a confirmation of that reversal to get out of the trade. So basically, you always wait for a confirmation. And that is, that is why I said that it's a great question, because so many people jump in the trade before actually even getting a confirmation of the trade. And once again, it's because they trade with their emotions. You see, everything comes down to that. What are you really trading? Are you trading the market, or are you trading what you want the market to do? And that is a big mistake. So sticking to your plan, and when you do that, you're able to get in the trade. So I hope that answers the question, but that is basically how I do it if we just take the very overall picture of it. Okay, so I kind of basically already answered the question in the last, but basically when should you close out the trade, or when you've kept it open too long? Okay, so that is a really great question as well. So that comes down to basically kind of the same answer to the last question, which is when I close the trade, well, is when I have a confirmation that the market is no going the same way that it's actually or at least was going before. And so you see, that is where a lot of people will miss out on big profits. So I'll give you an example. So first of all, let's say that, I don't know, let's take an example. Let's say you sell here, right? And let's say that, you have like two targets. Your first one will be, I don't know, like right here. And your second one will be like right here for whatever reasons you have, right? These are your two targets. And I'm just saying this, as an example. So the problem is that most people, when the trade will get already at their target, they're closing the trade like automatically. They either take profit or close the trade manually, but they close the trade as soon as it gets to the target level. And that is a big mistake. Why? Well, it's because when it gets to your target level and you just get there, well, you cannot know if it's going to continue or turn. You're just, once again, trading with your emotions. You see, everything comes down to that basically. So when you close a trade just because it reached a certain level, that is the complete wrong way to do it. Because once it reached the level, you don't have any information about what the market is likely going to do after. So when my trade will reach my target, if for example we continue on this Euro USD example, so let's say that the trade goes very well and we actually get to these levels, right? So I will not take my profit when we get there. Why? Well, because what if it actually do this, and it can do this, by the way. So that is why I'm not taking out my trades or my profit or whatever when it reach a level. I'm waiting for a confirmation of a reversal, meaning a confirmation that the market is no longer going up in that situation. So that is always what you want to wait for, a confirmation of the next movement before you actually remove the trade, because otherwise, if you don't wait for that, then you may miss this, right? And that is where a lot of people miss making a lot of money, because they close their trades too early. And that is a big mistake you can make as well. A lot of people will use the code, I've seen a lot of marketers using this code, but they basically say secure the bag, or take it, or you cannot go broke taking profits or whatever. Like I've seen different type of codes that basically say the same thing, but that is actually not true, because yes, you can go broke if you always take profits at the wrong place. So it really comes down to waiting for a confirmation before you take any decisions, whether it's a buy, a sell, closing the trade, taking your profit out, whatever it is. Always waiting for a confirmation, and that is extremely important. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, and that is a cool question, and I'm glad you asked this right now, because it leads me to actually talking about another thing that I have in my notes here. Like I said, I've received some questions before the webinar, so I'm going to answer them as well. So let's talk about what is more important between the psychology or the technical analysis. So that's a big debate, because one of the, a very popular quote, and by the way guys, I see other questions in the chat, so don't worry, I'll answer them after I finish talking about this. But basically, psychology or technical analysis, one of the most popular quote that I see online about trading, and that quote says that trading is like 90% psychology and 10% technical, or whatever the amount is, right? But they say that the psychology is much more important than the technical analysis. So first of all, before everyone starts, getting mad at me for always contradicting everything, yes, I do agree with that, right? The psychology is extremely important for a trader. But the problem that I've seen so many people get into is that when they hear that trading is 90% mental and 10% technical, well, they don't pay as much attention on the technical part. And, that comes down to like common sense, like think about it for a second, let's say that you have the best mindset in the world, right? Like you have no emotions with your trading. You always follow your trading plan. you always follow your rules. You're always on that movement. You never get wrong when it comes to following your plan, right? You are 100% focused on your plan and following your rules. So that will be like the, you know, perfect mindset for a trader. You're able to handle losses. You don't get distracted. You're always, you know, feeling great about your trading. You're always, you know, in that good mood. Like you have the best mindset in the world, right? Well, if you understand nothing about the chart, you will not be profitable. You see? And that is where the problem is. So many new traders think that because trading is a lot about psychology, they don't put enough effort on the technical analysis. So even though you can have the best mindset in the world, well, if you don't understand what you're doing when it comes to looking at the chart in itself, you will never be profitable. Never. You know, so that is why it's super important to, you know, and I don't completely agree with the 90% 10% or whatever, you know, the number is. I think people should more say that, you know, they're both important. Like it's not about, you know, which one is more important. They're both important. And the opposite of my example that I just did also work, meaning you can be the best technical analyst in the world, right? You can understand at 100% what you're doing. You always forecast the right patterns, blah, 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 all these things. Well, if you don't have the right mindset, you will also not be profitable, you see? So that's why I'm saying that these two are, you know, extremely important, and that's why I'm covering this right now on this webinar, because I want as many people as possible to listen to this and to, you know, understand and realize that both are important. It's not just about the mindset, it's not just about the chart, it's about them. You need to be good at everything when it comes to these things if you want to be a profitable trader. So that basically covers up this question, and I hope that for the person who asking me that question, I hope that it's clear, and I hope that you just learned that tonight. Okay, so let's continue. Let's look at other questions. What confirmation do you look for when it comes to, you know, before taking a trade? Okay, so that basically depends on your own strategy. I have my own strategy. So my confirmation will be basically, like I said, you can call it the fractal principle. So what is the fractal principle? Well, to just make it, you know, very clear and simple, it basically means that you get the same pattern and same type of movement on every time frame. So for example, if I want to wait for getting into this move, well, what I will do is that I will wait for an impulse, a correction, and an impulse, because that phase of correction confirms me that we will get this next impulse after. So that is basically the confirmation I'm waiting for, and so I have to align everything together and put all the time frames in place. That is why I use all time frames, by the way. Well, maybe not like the 1 minute or 3 minutes or, you know, 5 minutes, whatever, but like I use like the monthly, weekly, daily, 4 hour, 1 hour, and sometimes even like the 2 hour, 3 hours, 15 minutes as well, 30 minutes as well. So I use pretty much like most time frames. And that is because I need to wait for that confirmation and to align everything when it comes to all the time frame in order to have a good trading setup. So that is what I did here. You see, this trade, for example, if we continue on this example, well, this right here, I did not take this trade just because of, you know, the small impulse correction that we have here. I took this trade because of all of this as well, and also because of all of this, and also because of all of this. You see? So it's more about, you know, it's really the confirmation basically, and the direction that I'm going with this, to make it very clear, is that your confirmation has to be on a lower time frame, because this is normally where people will take their trades. You know, like I said, it depends on your strategy, but most people take their trades on lower time frames. So that is why I'm using this as an example. And then you have to see the same directions on all time frames, because if not, you may get into a trade that actually, you know, it can go one way and then right by the other, because you haven't looked at the bigger time frame. And it doesn't mean that if, for example, the monthly time frame is not showing upside, that I will not take the trade, you know. And as a matter of fact, here on euro, I'm expecting this on the long term for many reasons. But you see, the thing is that you need to know what is happening on all time frame, and then you can find a good trading setup on the lower time frame. And you see the setup that you will find basically on the lower time frame comes from understanding what all the other time frames are doing, because when you understand that, then you have the confidence to actually go on the lower time frame and take your trade there. So that is why I say that it's extremely key to basically look at all the time frames, and then you can go on the lower time frame, and this is where you will be able to take your trades. So I hope that answers the question, but yeah, that will be like my main thing I should say you need to focus at when it comes to waiting for any kind of confirmation. Uh, okay, so we have a more little in-depth question. So Jasper is asking, can you exit, for example, take it? Okay, so I understand the question. So can you take profit, for example, at whatever place you think that the market is going to reverse, and then if it actually doesn't reverse, you just get back in the trade. So that is possible to do. I know some people are doing it. I even have some students who are doing that type of strategy. And that can work because these students are profitable as well. So yes, it can work, and it depends on basically how you approach the market. So to make it very clear for everyone, what he's basically asking, and I'm pretty sure that it's what he's asking, but basically let's say that it comes here, right? And let's say that at this point you think it's going back down. So the question is, can you take profit at this level? And actually after, if you see that you get more upside, then just re-enter back on the trade here. I think it's what he's asking, and that is a good question. So like I said, it depends on your strategy. Some people do it. I personally rarely do this, or the only way that I can do this, it comes back a little bit to what I was saying. So for example, if you actually, let's go back on the 1 hour, since this is where I take and close my trades. But basically, let's say that here we get a bigger correction, we get one more up here, and at this point the question is, can I take my profits there if I think that it's reversing, and if it's not reversing, then I wait to re-enter back in the trade. That's basically the question, and the answer is yes, you can do this. Personally, what I will do is that I will never take any profits there if the price just came there. So what I will wait for is probably something like this, and if I see that it can reverse from here, I will take out my trade here or there as well. So yes and no, it depends on your strategy. Personally, I will still wait for any kind of confirmation, because I think it's the best way to approach that type of situation. But I know as well people who are doing it like we've described before, and it also works well for you. So yes and no, depends on your approach. This is what I would say. Okay. And so when you look at this, basically I just had this pop in my head, but basically I'll show you guys something interesting. So, okay, let me just take a new chart because I don't want to get confused with all my tools, but is this a new chart? Okay, so okay, I'll have it on the daily. So let me show you how I trade, and trading patterns and market structure is actually, in my opinion, the best way possible, and why it works so well, right? And every time that I show this example to students, they're always like, oh my god, like this is insane, this is so cool, it's so great. And you will see the power of what I'm about to show you guys. And I'm not supposed to show you that. Normally I reserve this for reversal masters. So I hope that everyone that is watching this right now will keep that in mind and take notes of this, whatever. So let me show you that. So you see on the daily, if we look here on euro, I'll just remove the RSI as well, we don't need it. So if I look on the euro right now, right, on the daily, what did we got? We got this impulse. You got a 1, 2, 3 here. You see you did not break the low, you did not break the top. That is what we mostly call a contracting flat. You can also call this more a B, C type contracting, whatever, there's different names out there. I personally call it a contracting flat. So that's when you get an impulse 1, 2, 3, you don't break the low, you don't break the top, and then after you got another down, you broke the low, right? You see here we broke the low, and we came back up after, right? So that is what we got on the daily. So now let me show you what we can do with this example. So I will take all the candles for this example. I don't even know where is the tool. I think it's yeah, I think this is the one. So I'll go from here to here, right? So you see I just like copied basically the price movement of what happened on the daily on euro. So now with that price movement, I'll just reduce it a little bit. Whoa. Okay, yeah, so something like this. And let's go on the 4 hour. Okay, so we have it here. It will be a little bigger. Yeah, way bigger. Too big. Okay, so it's not, you know, the exact same size, but it's, I'll just try to place it better. Yeah, so something like this. You see the power of this, right? Like, do I really need to explain why it's so powerful? You know, like people, you know, love to overcomplicate things sometimes. And do I really need to explain why is this so powerful, right? On the 4 hour, you got the impulse. 1, 2, 3. You went down. You broke the low. You got here. And this is what happened on the daily. And look what's happening on the 4 hour. Like, is this making sense? Like, you know, okay, is there any way I can put that even more simple? I don't think so. Like, this is just, you know, one of thousands of you know, possibilities and situations you can find on the market, but it just goes to show you. And this comes back, by the way, to what I was talking about before, which is the fractal principle, meaning everything repeats itself on all time frame. Everything repeats itself over and over and over again. So we just got the same exact structure on the daily and on the 4 hour. So when you understand the structure, well, that's basically when you become a profitable trader. That is the easiest way I can put it. You take this as an example, and what you can learn from that is that on all time frame you see the exact same type of movement. And you know, I can show you other example, and here I think I just, you know, saw a good one, so let me see if we can use this one, but I'm pretty sure that we will be able to use this one. Okay, this will be funny. Okay, so let's do this, and you'll see, once again, you'll see all the power of what I'm showing you guys right now. Okay, so let's take where's the tool? It's right here. So let's take from here to here, right? So we have this impulse, we have a big 1, 2, 3 here, and we got another impulse. So now let's take this tool and let's make it way smaller because it will be around here. And now let me go on the 1 hour, we'll see it better. So let me go back, I'll find, I don't know why my computer is so slow. Normally it's not as slow as that when I do sessions or calls or whatever, but anyway, so this is what I was looking at on the daily. So this is, keep in mind, this is the daily structure that we have, and I'll try to make it fit right here. You see? Like, do I have to explain more? Like, I don't know, you know, like you get this impulse, you get a 1, 2, 3, and you get another impulse. Once again, you know, like, it's so simple, and it's crazy how sometimes, you know, people want to overcomplicate everything and how the market moves, because in reality you need to know the patterns, and when you know them, and when you know how they can behave, when you know how to forecast, when you know what you need to wait for before you get in the trade, then this is what happens. You just trade these exact pattern, and you see, once again, with this example, it's perfect. Like, I mean, how can it be like I don't know how can I put this easier than that, right? Like, this is the easiest way I can explain wave theory to someone who's new to trading, right? You get a movement on the daily or whatever higher time frame, you can take that movement, or the opposite way also works, by the way. You take the movement and you see that you get the exactly same thing on the lower time frame. Like, that is just, you know, very much simple, I think, to understand. And when you know all these patterns, of course, like here, by the way, you know, to make it very clear, I'm really like trying to simplify this as much as possible, because when you get really into trading and how to take your trades, it becomes a lot more complex than that. And I know that, I have some students right here on the webinar with us, so they can confirm that as well. Jasper is one of my students, by the way, so he can confirm you this. This is a lot more complicated than what it seems to be. So here I'm just trying to simplify this and show you guys the power of actually, learning the skill, because you get the exact same movement every time. So when you know these movements and when you know how they behave, then you can take the trade and you can make profit. Like, that's really what it takes, and that's really how it is, so it's always like this. And these are just two examples that I just found like this. This dude got cheat codes. Right, but you see, like, I mean, it's not that complicated when you actually know these patterns, and when you can identify them, then you can get in the trade. And we can do this example on every time frame, on every pair, it doesn't matter, and you will always find the same type of movements. And that is not that complicated when you actually know what the market is doing. Like, it's always the same patterns. You have many different type of patterns, and when you know them and when you know how to trade them, then you can always be profitable. Like, that's really how it is, and that is not that complicated, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe maybe a lot of people find this complicated, and I guess because we have a lot of people who are still not profitable in the trading world. I don't know if you guys know that, but over 9 people out of 10 are not profitable on the market. That means that on 100 people, there's only 10 people making money, and that's crazy, because most people, and sadly, because that's the truth, but sadly most people end up learning from the wrong people, and because of that they are not being profitable. They're not able to make profits just because of learning from the wrong people. And I just want to make it clear, note about this. Why I talk so much about who you learn from is important, right? Mentors, books, taking courses online. I've taken courses online as well. I've had multiple mentors. Why I always talk about this. And if you guys follow me on either Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, whatever, you always see me talking about this, right? And people often ask me, like, why are you always talking about mentors? Like, what's the whole point and the big deal with mentors? Why are you always bringing this subject up? Well, it's because everything starts there. And what I mean with everything start there is because if you cannot, for example, if we take the trading example, if you cannot properly read what the chart is actually doing, if you cannot even tell me and forecast the next type of movement, so if you don't have the right knowledge to start with, well, all the other things don't matter. And it comes back to the technical slash psychology part I was talking before about. But basically, you can have the best mindset in the world, you can have a good risk management, you can have everything good, but if you learned from the wrong people at first, then you're just going on the wrong way, because you don't even have the right knowledge. And I say this with so much passion, because I have so many students who, when they take my course, they have been trading for like few months or even a year or whatever, and they learn so much crap. So I always have to make them unlearn all the bullshit that they learned before, so that they can actually learn the right things. And it's sad because so many people get in the wrong place with learning the wrong people. And we cannot blame people. And I've been in this situation like this, by the way, before. If you guys know a little bit more about myself, you know that I started trading with things like support, resistance, spin bar, whatever, other crap strategy. I've tried this when I started out, so I know, what it is. And it's not our fault, like, because, when you just start out something, whether it's trading or whatever you're starting out, well, you don't know what you don't know, right? Like, when you're just starting out trading, you cannot know if support and resistance or if whatever other theory is good or not, because you're new. So how can you know what is good and what is not? So when you just get into trading or whatever other industry, like I said, you don't know what you don't know. So that means that sadly so many people end up with the wrong people just because they cannot determine if that is good or not. And if they trust enough this person to buy whatever from this person, well, they end up learning the wrong thing. And sadly, that's what happened to a lot of people. That's what happened to myself. And so yeah, that basically ends the rant. But you know, keep in mind that who you learn from is extremely important, and everything start there. And that is how you can basically grow in trading, and not only in trading as well, like grow just as a person in itself, but like it's so important, and that is why I always mention it. So yeah, that's basically end the rant. Okay, and hold on, let me just go on few trades because I'm watching few trades right now. We also have in news in 5 minutes on New Zealand dollar, so we'll see how the market reacts to it. I'll not be surprised if it's downside, it can be upside as well, but whatever happens with the news tonight on New Zealand dollar, I don't really mind because this is a very long-term trade. So I'll be in this trade from, I'm in this trade from this point, and I'll be in this trade whatever happens with this news or not. Even if, you know, we got a big fast drop here because of the news, I'm sticking with this trade because I just think long term it can go very much upside, and I have all my tools saying that way. So I'll stick with that trade for a long time, but basically we'll see how this news actually affect the market. Right. Okay. So I have one more thing I want to cover in tonight's webinar. I don't want this webinar, by the way, to be too long. So I'll cover this one more thing. We'll see how the news goes. And after, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'll answer all of them, and they'll we'll call it a night. But I think already from there, I hope at least that you guys already learned a lot of things because, like I said, that's the whole point and purpose of doing this webinar. So one more thing I want to cover, and then, like I said, we'll look at the news and if you guys have any other question. But one last thing I want to cover is that, you know, when you start to trade, well, you know, and it comes back a little bit to what I was talking before, but when you start to trade, you need to always know what can happen before you actually get in the trade. And this is a big mistake that I've seen people get into, and that is why I'm breaking this up tonight. But basically, what is this mistake? It's that, for example, I'll give you one example. If we, for example, take if we go back on the euro, right? So this trade. So when I took the trade right here, the problem is that so many people, when they take, for example, this trade, well, the only possible scenario that they have in their mind is the upside, right? But whenever I take a trade, I always make other scenarios and do other forecasts, because oftentimes you will be wrong about the direction of the market. Whether you think it's upside or downside, you can be wrong about the direction of the market. So the problem is that if you buy here and your only forecast is that this is going up, well, if it actually doesn't go up, you will start to panic and you will likely get into your emotions. And so when I took this trade right here, I knew that it could have went down, you know. And when you know that, when you have many different forecasts, well, you never get surprised when you take a trade. And that is the whole point of having that, is that whenever, if the trade goes in the direction that you want it to go or in the other direction, well, both ways you are not surprised. You know that it can happen, and when you know that, you will be able to get in the right trade, and you will also be able to react to what the market is actually going to do after that the trade is done, after, you know, it start moving after you taking the trade. So that is why you need to have multiple forecasts. And same thing with New Zealand dollar. When I took the trade, I knew that it could have went more down before the big upside that I'm expecting and that we're probably getting right now. So you see, it's really about having different forecasts, and when you have them, once again, you are able to stay away from your emotions, and that will help you a lot to basically take the right decision. Once again, when it comes to your trading plan, what you have, what the market is showing you, and the structure of the market. So yeah, I pretty much covered everything I wanted to get into tonight. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'll just wait for, you know, people to drop their question if they have some. But If they don't, then I think we will call it a day, and it will have been a great webinar. I'm glad about how this went. So yeah, if you guys have any question before we finish, just let me know, and after we'll see if I can help you guys on other things. So don't hesitate if you have any question. I'll look at the news. What is this? Oh, really nice. Okay, so you see the news is actually going very nice for me as well. So that's really cool. Right, so you see, like, there's no surprise. like you know, like, I don't know, like, it's not that complicated. And you know, so many people here would have freaked out, like they would have seen the news on New Zealand dollar, and like most people will have taken their profit there just because of the fact that it could have went down. But you see, I didn't. Why? Because I did not have any confirmation. So that comes back to what I was talking earlier. You know, someone asked, what is a confirmation? Well, and what do I need to wait for before taking out my trade? And the answer is a confirmation for downside. And even if we would have went downside here, this is not enough to confirm a direction. One candle, one wave, whatever, is not enough to confirm any directions. So you see, that is why I stick in the trade. And no matter if the reaction of the news was upside or downside, it doesn't change anything for me. So here we are just continuing the upside, but like I said, there's nothing different. Like, it's still the same trade, same setup, nothing changed. Okay. Do you have courses for people who have some experience already? Okay, so let me talk about this. So the only course that I have is Reversal Master, and you can join Reversal Master whether you have no experience at all, because the course goes from the basics to, you know, the most advanced stuff. And even if you have experience, you can take the course. And you know, it can work for both ways. Like, I have many people, like I said, who have already a lot of experience, and they join me to like perfect their skill, for example. So that is the same course for everyone, you know. And I don't have, you know, it's a question that some people ask sometimes. So I guess I'll clean and answer this right now. But you know, some people ask me, do you have like package, like the, you know, you often see that online, like, you know, the gold package or the, you know, diamond package or whatever package people call, and you know, whatever they create. But the point is that Reversal Master is one course, and that teaches you from the very basics to what you need to know, and I go over everything there. So if you guys want more information when it comes to the course in itself, you can go to www.reversalmaster.com. The link will be in the description as always. But basically, that is the same course for everyone, and you can take this course if you have no experience at all. If you already have experience, it doesn't matter. The whole purpose of the course is to make you a profitable trader. And so no matter from where you start, it doesn't matter, because we will start from there and we will look at what you already know. If in your case, for example, you already have experience, we will look at this, and then we will see, you know, what did you learn, and then we will continue the course based on that. So no matter if you have experience or not, you can join the course. And like I said, it's a, you know, it's a very personal course, you know, like there's personal sessions. I'm always there to answer students. They have me on my personal Facebooks and everything. So, you know, it's a very on-hand personal course. We do one-on-one sessions, we have Skype calls and all of these things. So, you know, that is why I'm doing it like this, by the way, to personalize the course and make sure that everyone has what he needs to have, basically, to become a profitable trader. So to just sum it up your question, yes, you can join Reversal Master whether you have no experience or if you already have experience as well. You can both ways, and it can be great for you as well, no matter that. Okay, so there is no more question, and I basically talk about everything that I wanted to talk about. So we'll call it a webinar, a successful one. I hope so, at least. I hope that you guys learned many things on tonight's calls. Thank you for everyone who was there with me on the live stream. That was really much appreciated. And once again, I hope that I covered everything you guys wanted to hear me talk about, and I hope that you got at least some value out of this, right? So thank you so much for watching, guys. I will wish you a great night and a great week ahead as well. So take care, and I will see you very soon. You can always message me as well on Instagram or Facebook, even Snapchat, YouTube, email, whatever you want, where you want to message me. You can always do this if you guys need anything, whether it's about trading or just life in general as well. If you need someone to talk to as well, don't hesitate. I'm always there for you guys, and feel free to reach out if you ever need anything. All right, so thank you for watching and take care.